On this episode of Arts Weekly, I'll be speaking with Jeff Casazza and Marcia Smith from the IPFW Department of Theater about their upcoming production of Anton in Show Business.
We've also changed the way the Williams Theater looks, and it looks more like a three-quarter stage than the thrust that we normally have.
And Omowale Ketu Aladua, founder and executive artistic director of the Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture.
And we let people create. It's not a space where people have to feel uptight about performing per se.
This is Arts Weekly.
Arts Weekly is a production of the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of arts.
Hello, I'm Chuck O'Connor, and this is Arts Weekly. Joining me is Jeff Casazza, Assistant Professor of Acting, Directing, and Voice at IPFW, and cast member Marcia Smith. They are here to talk about the upcoming production of Anton in Show Business, opening on February 18th at IPFW. Good to have you both on the show.
All right, thanks for having us.
Jeff, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Anton in Show Business.
Sure. Well, the Anton comes from Anton Chekhov, a playwright from the 19th century, and he wrote Three Sisters, and this play is kind of a play within a play that follows the Three Sisters. So, and it also kind of has some parallels to the play, The Three Sisters. So we have three actresses who are together in a not so populated area, performing a professional production of The Three Sisters.
Right. Three Sisters is a famous play by a famous playwright in real life, Anton Chekhov, Russian, right?
Yes.
19th century Russian playwright.
Yeah.
Known for, I think, a very, very distinct form of comedy, though perhaps sometimes in certain productions it doesn't come off too funny.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little bit of the humor in this play, is it not? Anton Show Business.
It is, because Anton Chekhov, he always puts the kind of subtitles on his plays, and he called this one a comedy at first, Three Sisters, a comedy. And he was really disappointed when he went into the rehearsal that Konstantin Stanislavski, the big acting coach or teacher that has influenced all of 20th century theater, and he went into that rehearsal and he was really upset that Stanislavski and his company thought, this is a great play, but it's serious, and he left in a big huff.
I don't think anything is as disappointing in the theater as a play that's supposed to be funny, and it's not. You know,
yeah.
But that's not the case in this play, Anton in Show Business. This is a comedy. This is kind of like last season's Noise is Off, correct, in terms of a play within a play and a takeoff on actors. But Marcia, and may I call you Bean, because I know that's what we all call you here at IPFW.
Yes.
Bean, what is your role in Anton in Show Business?
I play Casey Mulgraw, and she is cast as one of the Three Sisters for Anton Chekhov, for the Three Sisters from Anton Chekhov. So that's.
And do you play? I understand that there's actually the actors actually play multiple roles in the play.
I do not play a multiple role. I am pretty much Casey Mulgraw through the whole thing. But there are others who play separate and different roles.
So is that one of the challenges of the play, in a sense, Jeff? That you have the storyline is this is a small theater in San Antonio, Texas, and they have budget problems, so they have to make different actors play multiple roles.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the whole play is kind of a comment on the economic system in the situation, very similar to what we're in now, where a lot of budgets are being cut and things are happening. You have to make do with what you have, and so and they make a comment of that in the play, where we're under hard economic times, so that's why actors are playing multiple roles.
And how come Bean got the part with only one role? Isn't that kind of easier than all the other roles then?
Well, it is and it isn't, because she has to sustain that through the whole play, whereas most of the other characters, come in and come out. So it becomes, but then for them it's difficult because they have to sustain those characters, and when they're in one scene as one character, they come in as another one, and then they go back to the other one. They have to maintain that.
That just seems insane.
It becomes that way. There will be an interesting show that happens backstage that nobody will see. because there are also 6 dressers who are cast in the show that do a lot of stuff on
Yes.
stage, but then they are also helping them backstage, changing costumes, adding beards, adding sweaters, taking off sweaters.
So it's a madcap comedy about the theater.
Yes.
If you love the theater and how it works or doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
But getting back to you, you're a student here at IPFW. You have an interesting story. You're actually in the Armed Services, the Army Reserve, are you not?
Yes, I am.
And you got to do stuff for the Army when you're in the Army, right?
Yeah, that tends to be the way that works.
So what happens? You have to do a play, and what happens when you have to, show up for a weekend at the Army Reserve? How do you
Well,
balance the
4
two?
days.
Or 4 days.
Right.
You beg your director to let you do it. Is what you do. No, I once a month I go and I do. It's called drill, and I go and I do what I do there and what they tell me to do, really, because that's my job.
Because you're in the Army.
Yeah, because I'm in the Army. And so 1 weekend a month I do that. So
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean that's your part-time job, I guess. In a
it's
sense.
one of them. Yes.
I know that's one of them. It's one of the things that I really find interesting working here at IPFW is that some of our students do other things.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just students, but a lot of them have to work half-time. Some of them work full-time, and I think that's what makes them kind of special and hard-working. But
it does, because they have to. I mean, they're in class all day, and when they're in a show, they're in rehearsals 5 nights a week from 7 to 10, and they have to be there a little early to get ready, and then they have to find time to work outside of that. So
Right.
it is really. They're busy all the time.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them are waiters, right? Because they get the flexible.
That's right.
But this play has all women in it.
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, kind of the comment on the theatrical situation is that most plays, or many, it's getting a little better now, but it's still, many plays are written by men, more roles are for men, and most directors are men. And so this play also comments on that and saying that here's a woman playing a man because there are no roles for women, so we're going to have to play men.
That is true. And did you ever think that maybe you shouldn't be directing the play because you're a man?
It's interesting. It is a very interesting thing of what's happening. But it's somehow many of the plays that I've directed have had a lot of women in them. Not all of them, but I mean I've directed Steel Magnolias and a couple of new plays that are mostly women as well. So
well, and the thing is I think it's a good fit for our theater department because we have a really good, strong women contingent. We have good men as well, but you're right. There are not as many roles written for women.
And that's one of the things we've talked about this play for a couple of years of doing it, but this year seemed to be the right, and this semester seemed to be the right semester because our next play is going to be King Lear, and that is primarily men. And so we were looking for a good play that would go opposite that, so that we would have some good opportunities for women as well. Right.
You try to balance off the season. What are some of the special, I guess, challenges you have in doing a play like this? I mean, are there a lot of doors? Or I remember on Noises Off, when I saw that production at IPFW last year, which was just hilarious, and Bean was in the production.
Yes.
But I was like 8 or 9 doors, and they were all slamming, and people were walking in and out. How do you time that? But are there unique challenges to doing Anton in show business?
I think so, because you want to. It has to look simple. Because it is, they have a budget crisis on what set they're going to use. So we have set pieces or things that might roll on. But we've also changed the way the Williams Theater looks, and it looks more like a 3/4 stage than the thrust that we normally have. So we've changed the look of it, which then gives it that simple look as well. But it's very complex. So there is a door that comes and goes, but we use all of the entrances in the theater, so it becomes that same kind of thing that's in Noises Off, but somebody might exit here and then they have to come in over here.
So you guys are really doing this on the cheap, rather the play within the play.
The play within the play is, they're having to figure, and that becomes the challenge of how do we make it look right, but then still make it look inexpensive, even though we're putting all of these man hours or women hours doing painting and building and all of these things. So it becomes a challenge to find that simplicity.
Right.
And it becomes complex to do that.
Sure it is. And of course, all the sets at IPFW are usually very, very grand. I mean, but at the same time, we're talking about the play within the play here, not the actual play Anton in show business. Bean, you've been in a number of productions at IPFW. What else have you done here?
My first show here was Noises Off, and that was last spring.
That was That was your last one, your first one?
That was my very first one here at
Wow.
IPFW. My second show was then Spelling Bee this fall.
Oh, that's right.
And then now I am in the great show of Anton and Show Business.
Those plays all have something in common, it seems like. There's, well, they're all comedies.
They were all comedies, and they all had me.
And they all, that was it. Now I know. Now I know why they're all the same. But what's the similarities that you find, or the differences between Anton and Show Business opening, coming up this weekend, and Noise is Off, which was a big hit last year?
Differences I noticed so far is definitely the directing style is a lot different. Both equally as wonderful, but just different. Mm-hmm. And so it's been really interesting to work under two different directors and both doing comedies. Noise is Off, my part was not as big as this one. So this
so
one
the pressure's on.
Yes, yeah. I have a lot of lines this time.
I never could figure out how you folks memorize all those lines. That's just amazing.
We have a lot of nudging.
Yeah, a lot of practice, I'm sure. Is there something innately funny, I guess, in I see sort of a parallel between Three Sisters, Chekhov's Three Sisters, and theater in general. And that is, with Chekhov, I think that the genius of his comedy was that all his characters are so enormously self-important.
Yes.
Even in their pain and suffering.
Yeah.
You can't take them seriously. They're almost, they're funny in that way.
Yes.
And so are actors. And,
yeah.
so are, I mean, when they show up for rehearsal, is there, do you find there's a similarity or something that you can work with in that relationship?
Absolutely. And I think we have the same trouble in some of the sections of Anton and Show Business that people have with Chekhov, because there is tragic elements that happen, but you can't play the tragedy. No. I think one of the things that makes Chekhov work really well is that when the characters are laughing the loudest is probably when they're hurting the most.
Yeah.
And so that becomes something that we had to find the layer of that pain, but then we have to put the comedy on top of it. And there's a lot of comedy. I mean, it focuses on the comedy,
yeah.
But then just as you start laughing, you realize what the undercut is.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a really enjoyable night in the theater. I'm looking forward to it. It's always good to laugh. I find myself laughing a lot harder at stage comedies than film comedies, in a way, because there's a real actor there in front of you acting stupid rather than so I wish you the best on that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
For information about the Department of Theater and how you can see Anton and Show Business, you can visit ipfw.edu/VPA or call the Schlatzline box office at 481-6555 for tickets. Arts Weekly will return in a moment.